Am revenit în direct, trecem de la piața bancară la parteneriate publice-private. Cum pot fi revigorate anumite proiecte de investiții în România prin intermediul parteneriatului public-privat? Alături de mine va fi prin Zoom Mehita FANNY, director regional pentru Europa la IFC Europa. IFC este divizia de investiții a Băncii Mondiale, iar aici în studio este avocat Iuliana LEON, managing associate la Țuca Zbârcea și Asociații. Iuliana, mulțumesc. Mehita, hello, how are you?
Hello, good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah. How is IFC doing?
Thanks, IFC is very well, and IFC is very pleased to be working with the Romanian government. And in this context, we have been in touch for 2 years now, talking about how we can help deploying the government PPP program.
Okay, I'll switch to Iuliana. Iuliana, tomorrow you as a main partner, Țuca Zbârcea, you organize an international conference here in Bucharest. We are also a media partner about PPP. Why?
This event was needed. We organized this event together with the International Finance Corporation as co-organizers and with the investment fund in infrastructure Meridiam. So all of us are partners in this event, and we structured this event to cover all the main important issues that Romania faces currently in structuring PPP's project. And Mehita also can tell you about the difficulties that we faced in structuring, indeed in an early stage in structuring PPP projects.
In Romania, we don't have a PPP project. It was a disaster. Why? And I'll put the same question to Mehita.
It was a disaster, let's say in this way, to use your word. Indeed, because as we learned from the past, a lesson learned is that the technical and economical feasibility of a project is very important. And a lesson learned is that we have to use accurate information. We have to update all the information that we discuss and we put in a feasibility study. So it is very important to draft a feasibility study that it is accurate. Nevertheless, it is important to align our legislation, mainly the government decision 907 per 2016, to the international best practices, because the previous projects failed because the legislation was not aligned with the international best practices, in the sense that we used the technical documentation for works contract to PPP contracts, and it was expected to fail because you cannot provide the investors with a technical solution and bills of quantities and to expect to him to act like a constructor instead of an investor, of a private investor. So from the private investor, we expect to provide solutions, technical solution, the best technical solution, and we cannot ask him to act like a constructor, and we provide him with a technical design, all the details, and he has no initiative. He cannot follow technical design drafted maybe with 5 years ago, and this is why we have to amend the legislation in the sense that the technical documentation has to contain only a conceptual note, a conceptual design, and not to provide his technical solution already.
Okay, and right now the law, it's okay, but you have to change the law.
No, we have to amend the law, and we address this matter to the Ministry of Development through the Public Investment Unit from the Ministry of Finance, and currently we've been told that the piece of legislation amending Government Decision 907 per 2016 will be in public consultation very soon. So actually we address this matter. Indeed, the Ministry of Development endorsed our opinion, and experts' opinion, not necessarily ours, but international best practice practitioners' opinion in this respect. And we expect to amend the legislation in the sense to make it appropriate to PPPs, because now we have a legislation that it is appropriate for public procurement, and of course we structure public procurement.
Okay, so in favor of the state, yeah?
And in favor, the current legislation,
Yeah.
yes, it is in favor of the state, because I don't know if it is in favor of the state. It is actually it is fit for the public procurement, because we deliver to the constructor the design of a project, or and in a PPP project, the design is a very important phase that is part of value for money stage. Yes, so when we assess the value for money, we deliver the risk of design and construction to the private partner. By designing the technical design by the public partner, it is obvious that this risk belongs to the public partner. And by the PPP, we allocate this risk to the private partner, who will be willing to take this risk because his obligation is to deliver a construction that it will be maintained by him and has to be in a very good, has to have a very good quality, because otherwise it will bear the cost of maintenance, very high cost of maintenance.
Okay.
And he's very interested to design in a very adequate manner.
Mehita, what is your opinion about the Romanian situation in PPP? And if you compare this situation in Romania to other countries?
I must say that in terms of comparison, or in terms of what makes a country successful in deploying a PPP program, is first the commitment, and the commitment has to be there at the highest level of the country, and this is shown through the fine-tuning of the legal framework. This is shown in validating a pipeline of projects and launching concrete implementation of those projects. And in Romania, from what Iuliana has just explained, it seems like previous experience kind of led to cold feet about PPP. So this, the fact that previous projects were not considered successful, there's kind of a reluctance to continue to go ahead and quickly in new generation of PPPs. And there's also this misunderstanding that this false thinking that by tightening the legal framework, it will be possible to be successful in the coming PPPs, which is not the case. It is very important to keep in mind that PPP, which means public-private partnerships, it's a partnership between public parties and private entities, and it's more about sharing risk. And when you say sharing risk, if you share risk with a party, you don't want to be also be dictating that person how to handle the risk that he has accepted to take. So structuring a PPP will mean that putting together the right obligation to each party with the right incentive and making sure that they deploy it. But if there's too many constraints in the legal framework, like Iuliana has explained, which means that in the legal framework, everything has to be prescribed to the private operator, this will be the recipe for disaster, for failure. So this is why when we mention that there need to be some amendment to the law, it's very important for the country to be successful in this new generation of PPP they would like to implement. It's not going to be amending the law because it's too profitable to the government. It's not the case, to the public side, I mean. Amending the law is necessary to enable balanced and sustainable projects. If it's done like everything is prescribed to the private operator, it means that he's not really managing the risk which is supposed to be his, which means the technology has to be defined by him or deployed, the choice of the technology and innovation. when you are too prescriptive, you lack the opportunity of bringing innovation. So this is something which is very important. And the other thing that I will say is also the decision-making process. It has to be a very smooth flow, because if you have too many obstacles, at the end of the day, you'll be deploying PPP you'll be working on a project without reaching the finalization, because there will be too many obstacles or too many divergent interests, and aligning too many stakeholders sometimes can make the decision-making process very difficult. So the difference with other countries will really be in how far the country will go in adjusting the law to make it an enabling tool for project to be implemented.
Mehita, what is the name of the country with the best law in terms of public-private partnership? And maybe will be an example for us.
You know, that is very difficult to say. You don't have a best law. You have successful projects.
Successful in Europe, let's say in Europe, because you cannot compare Europe with United States or South America and so on. So in Europe.
You know why I'm saying it's difficult to mention a country. You cannot mention a country as the best practitioner of PPP, but you can mention successful PPP projects. So if I go to one project, for example, recently in Serbia, we had a project on waste to energy. That project was really well defined, structured, implemented, and financed, because a project is successful when it reaches financial close and it starts operating. And this project really solved an issue that the municipality of Belgrade had in terms of managing the waste, in terms of treating the waste, and in terms of using this waste as potential source of energy. We have closer to Europe, because this team that I lead here was covering Europe and Central Asia, a country where we were very successful in implementing several PPP in less than 5 years. That was Uzbekistan.
Okay.
Sorry. So where we deployed PPPs in the energy sector for renewable energy, we deployed PPP for health, deploying some diagnostic centers, dialysis centers. We deployed also PPP for schools. So there's a program of building schools. Recently in Kosovo, we were able to help the municipality of Pristina to build schools for the public. And that is something which is very helpful, because this project is going to enable 2,000 and 2,500 students to go to school in a very decent and modern infrastructure. So I won't say if one country is the best in terms of PPPs, but it's about PPPs which have been successfully implemented, and what made them successful was what I mentioned earlier.
Exactly, the willingness to draft,
the
willingness to structure PPPs, as very well pointed out Mehita, that we cannot really recommend a country having the best legislation, but we can mention countries that manage to structure PPPs and to implement successful PPPs. For example, the example of Greece, the example of Turkey, and we will have invites from Greece, Mr. Nikos Herhis, and Turkey
tomorrow
as well.
In the conference.
Tomorrow, yes, at the summit.
To give some example from
Greece, to provide us successful projects and successful examples, and to explain to us how they managed, because they didn't start with so many projects from the beginning. Yeah? They started with they focused on a limited number of projects. They structured the project in an adequate manner, in a proper manner. They were serious, probably. They were willing to structure and to implement it, to have successful project. And now, for example, Greece structure every year about 60, 70 PPP projects. So it is doable. It is doable. Yeah, it is possible. It is not impossible. Of course, PPPs are a bit complex. You have to have knowledge, to have expertise, to have international and expertise of well-renowned experts. You have to use it, but of course it is not impossible to to structure, and they really are helpful, and they really function if they are structured in an adequate manner, and if the legislation is structured according to the international best practices.
Mehita, people said that as long we have a European fund, it's not necessary to have a PPP. What is your answer? And the same question with Iuliana.
That's a very good question, and I really hope that many decision makers are listening to that. The fact that they have European funds is a very good thing and a very good ingredient for PPPs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that because PPP does not prevent a country from having funds from development, multilateral development agencies. It's a complementary tool, because with these funds available and the opportunity of doing PPP, the government can leverage the money that they have. Let me take an example. 100 million from the European institution for European Union to develop infrastructure in the country. This could go to one project to be developed. But if you think about PPP, the same 100 can develop several projects, in a sense that portion of it can be government contribution or the institution contribution, and the complementary can be found through PPPs. By doing two PPP, but with the same budget, you can develop 2, 3, 4 PPPs depending on the sectors that allow government to accelerate the development of infrastructure instead of using all the money to go by themselves developing those projects through public funding. It's important for countries to know that they don't need to be themselves implementing some infrastructure project. They can use the private sector to do that, and sometimes to make it affordable, they can use the public money which is available, the funds that are coming from the European Union, to reduce the cost of the investment, but still allow the private sector to intervene and make the project affordable for the end users.
But
definitely, and Greece is the best example, and I hope that tomorrow people will listen to the example how Greece was able to leverage those funding to increase that PPP pipeline.
But can you use European fund in PPP?
Of course.
Mehita?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Of course,
definitely it can be used in PPP.
Iuliana.
As Mehita said, definitely we can use European funds in structuring and financing PPPs actually. And also in this respect, our legislation needs to be amended because our legislation limited the contribution of the public partner to 25% from the value of the investment works. So, but including as well in this limit the European funds, which is actually contrary to the Eurostat principles, because these funds are neutral from an accountant treatment. So these funds, European funds, should have not been included within the limit threshold of 25% of the investment works value. So also in this respect, we drafted amendments to the government ordinance, emergency ordinance 39/2018 on public-private partnerships. So this is why we said all the time that the legislation is an impediment in structuring PPPs. This is another example of another impediment, and we have a lot of impediment. Wherever you look, you have other and another impediment. So this is a very good example why the legislation has to be amended very, very soon, very fast.
In what sector do you think PPP in Romanian is necessary? Not
necessary.
I mean
in a lot of
road. We have an example with Comunic Brașov.
We had an example. Yes, we had an example. That was a project that was structured 3 times. We have to learn from that project, of course, and from other projects as well. The fields where I would recommend to structure PPPs are hospital. Yes, healthcare infrastructure.
I mean, to build
public, yes, to build a public
hospital.
Hospital by using we can use as well European funds and public financing and private financing, because we cannot discuss any more about only private financing of PPPs. It is not longer possible. Actually, it was about concessions, privately financed, but we have to use also the public funds for structuring PPPs. So first sector, I would say, healthcare. Okay. Yes, the second field, I think, waste to energy sector. That it would be a very new field of investment in Romania. As Mehita said, we have best practice in
but in energy
Belgrade.
We have a lot of private investors who don't need the PPP except nuclear energy.
It is a different example. For example, waste to energy and water treatment projects are different from the wind farm energy and solar energy. I know that these fields are fashionable, and as you said very well, we do not need at this moment. We do not need investments and the PPPs in energy, because in other countries, as Mehita said very well, for example, in Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, there are investments also in this energy field. Indeed, Romania, for the moment, doesn't need investments in energy, but in the future, probably will need.
The third field.
The third field, I would say that you will be surprised, probably, railway. Railway, yes. Yes,
but
railway.
We have a lot of money in PNRR.
We have a lot of money in PNRR, but this doesn't exclude the possibility to structure PPPs, because, as Mehita said, these are alternatives to other types of projects. We do not say to use only PPPs. We just say to use PPPs and to follow the advantages of using PPPs. Of course, we can use National Program for Resilience and yes, National Program.
Okay.
And but other means to finance and to structure projects as well. Not only one, not to follow only one direction. As far as I know, also the National Company of Railways intends to structure a couple of PPPs in this field.
Okay, tomorrow morning from 9:30 you have the conference. What will be your objective from this conference? After this conference, what?
Our main objective after this summit, we would like to popularize the best practices from other countries. But I think that it is not enough. We have to transmit the message that it is a common message, it's a joint message. It is not only our message, it is also the message of the local and central administration representatives, that we no longer can structure PPPs without allocating public funds from the state budget. So we have to structure PPPs in a mixed manner, in a complex manner, by attracting private sector and their funding and their expertise and responsibilities in sharing risks, but also to help the central and local administration authorities to allocate funds from the state budget. Of course, as you said, to also add the EU financing. So it has to be a mix of financing and to find the best solution to finance those projects. Because indeed, at the beginning of every PPP project could be a bit more difficult than a public procurement, but this is a long-term arrangement. The benefit we will see as citizens, of course, After a few years.
After we'll be in the heaven.
No. It won't take that long. But we have to trust this mechanism. We have to cooperate, all of us, and we have to see which are the problems, to very, very honest to bring it and to come out all the project, all the problems, to see how we can solve them, to see how other countries solve the problem, because we all have the same problems in all states. It is not possible only Romania to have these difficulties and these impediments, but somehow they manage to go further and to structure and to eliminate the obstacles and barriers and to go further and to have successful PPPs. We do not have at all.
Okay.
But we have to start from somewhere.
Yeah, from the history, I saw that our government, our authorities are not willing to push this kind of investment project, PPP. Mehita tomorrow will be also here in this conference. What will be your hope?
My hope is really to have the opportunity to share IFC's experience and global knowledge about PPP, share international best practice, successful projects, and also provide all the necessary clarifications and help better understanding of PPP, and create awareness on the complexity and the benefit of PPPs, highlight the fact that PPP is not only about public financing, it's not only about financing, it's about many other aspects that may a government want to go through the PPP scheme. So it's a tool, it's not a finalization of everything, but it's definitely a tool that should be more used in Romania.
Ok, Mehita, we'll see you tomorrow. Vom vedea ce ne va duce ziua de mâine, nu?
Vă mulțumim
Iuliana,
că ne-ți fii alături.
de la ora 9:30 pe sf.ro și pagina de Facebook a Ziarului Financiar veți vedea această discuție. Este bine să discutați în primul rând despre această, să spunem, oportunitate de a se dezvolta anumite proiecte în România prin intermediul acestor parteneriate public-privat. Vom vedea dacă reușiți să deseleniți în primul rând legea, dacă faceți legea să fie mai favorabilă astfel încât riscul să fie împărțit.
Să nu ne împiedice.
Ok, și legislația să nu vă împiedice pe investitorii care doresc să pună bani aici. Dar vreau să te întreb așa spre final. Spre exemplu, cine trebuie în a cui responsabilitate este inițierea unui proiect de PPP? Vine un investitor și propune statului sau statul, să zicem, scoate anumite proiecte, nu știu, construcția de spitale, construcția de infrastructura de apă și de canal, infrastructura de educație. Cine vine cu proiectul?
Aș putea spune că societatea civilă vine cu proiectul, pentru că un proiect răspunde necesităților.
Serios, nu poate să vină societatea civilă.
Prin societate este o necesitate. Este o necesitate. Da, însă ultima tendință nu este de a avea doar o rațiune economică. Nu, noi răspundem necesităților unei societăți, pentru că în momentul în care vom răspunde necesităților unei societăți printr-un parteneriat public-privat, îi vom avea interesați și pe cetățeni ca stakeholders, ca părți interesate. Evident că inițierea în concret a demersurilor de a structura un parteneriat public-privat revine partenerului public. Desigur că partenerul public nu trăiește într-un univers al lui și că interacționează cu investitorii, discută, verifică niște scenarii, verifică o modalitate sau alta, ascultă expertiza pe care au dobândit-o, pentru că dânsii acționează în piață. Investitorii cunosc foarte bine business-ul și trebuie să-i ascultăm, să-i consultăm.
Nu este mai mult interesul unui investitor privat să vină la stat, spune, uite, ai această necesitate și hai să facem în acest proiect, că până la urmă statul
poate să vină.
Poate nu vrea să facă nimica.
Poate nu vrea să facă nimic și sigur că poate să vină. Da, sigur că da, poate să vină, dar autoritatea publică are datoria să verifice acea propunere. Evident, o verifică, o discută cu piața, cu mai multe persoane interesate. Adică nu trăim izolați unii de alții. Bineînțeles că discutăm și cu investitorii și cu mediul de afaceri și cu cetățenii pe care autoritatea răspunde necesităților unui cetățen. De acolo, teoretic, este în slujba cetățenilor. Și atunci trebuie, prin aceste proiecte de parteneriat public-privat, noi trebuie să răspundem unor nevoi, să acoperim acele nevoi, să dezvoltăm, să creăm locuri de muncă, să dezvoltăm infrastructura. Evident că toți lucrăm la aceleași obiective.
Iuliana, care a fost cel mai interesant proiect public-privat de care ai auzit, poate care l-ai văzut și care l-ai analizat?
Cel mai interesant a fost canalul Eurotunnel.
Eurotunnel?
Da. A fost cel mai interesant pentru că l-am urmărit de când eram mică și pentru că mi-a plăcut foarte mult determinarea pe care au avut-o cele două părți, și franceză și partea și Marea Britanie, pentru finalizarea acestui proiect, care inițial s-a dovedit a fi mai dificil decât era estimat. A fost un proiect în care optimismul și dorința de a realiza au fost determinante.
Dar până s-a făcut.
Exact, până la urmă s-a făcut, este un lucru bun făcut, asta și dorim prin parteneriate, a răspuns unei nevoi de a traversa canalul Mânecii foarte ușor și iată că se poate. Chiar dacă a fost puțin mai dificil, chiar dacă au fost utilizate diverse metode de finanțare, uite că s-a putut și a rezultat un lucru bun.
Bine, mulțumesc frumos. Deci mâine de la ora 9:30 o discuție, conferința internațională despre parteneriate publice-private, să vedem cazul României și cum se poate deseleni situația din România. Alături de mine a fost Mehita FANNY, director general pentru Europa la IFC Europe și avocat Iuliana LEON, managing associate la Țuca Zbârcea și Asociații. Cam atât a fost ZF Live de astăzi. În câteva minute vă revedeți cu ZF Investiții în România.
Știu ce spun.
Rușii cer o nouă ordine mondială, una fără dominația americană.
Se cam înfierbântă, iar furtuna e pe cale să înceapă.
Știu ce te interesează.
Trump a fost arestat.
Dacă povestea asta îl crește, Trump poate să candideze, chiar dacă îi ajunge în pușcărie.
Știu cum să te fac curios.
Pisica moartă la borcan, expusă de masteranzii de la Universitatea de Artă.
Trebuie să-i acceptăm, asta nu înseamnă că suntem obligați să cumpărăm, să plătim, să vizităm.
Știu cum să te emoționezi.
Messi a fost huiduit din nou de fanii lui PSG. Îl acuză că a uitat să joace fotbal după ce a devenit campion mondial cu Argentina în Qatar.
Știu să convin.
Papa ne invită la sex, ne spune că exprimarea sexuală este o bogăție.
Prea o spune des, am înțeles, ești pro-sex.
Alex, nu da ochii peste cap. E vorba de iubire, ceea ce nu prea mai există.
Știu să câștig.
Mă consider câștigătoare, indiferent de puncte.
Știu, deci știi.